Hey RT students, just wanted to come back to you today and talk a little bit about the HQ challenge number 8 that I released yesterday. And what we're doing is really assessing ventilation, okay? Well, all of the following assist the RT in assessing ventilation except. So that's our key word. All right, so I posted a YouTube video on the difference between ventilation and oxygenation. So go look at that to further differentiate between the two. But bottom line is ventilation is the removal of CO2 from the body, where oxygenation is the delivery of oxygen to the tissues, okay? So when our patients ventilate, or when we ventilate, we have to move minute volume. It is a combination of tidal volume and respiratory rate that removes CO2 from our bloodstream to be exhaled to the atmosphere. So just knowing it's the removal of CO2, obviously looking at the CO2 is going to tell us a little bit about ventilation. And whenever we're looking at a blood gas, we always look at CO2 in conjunction with the pH, because if a person is having ventilatory failure, well, it can be acute or chronic. So the pH tells us a lot about what type of CO2 removal we have. And then now we're here between physiologic dead space and physiologic shunt, and people typically get these two mixed up, okay? So go back and watch that YouTube video. But physiologic dead space is VD to VT, the dead space to tidal volume ratio. And physiological shunt is QS to QT. All right, now we just said the removal of CO2 has to do with tidal volume times respiratory rate. So when we just look at these two, this is the one that has tidal volume in it. So physiologic dead space tells us how efficiently our patients are ventilating. And we're looking for ventilation. So if the first three are ways we assess ventilation, then the last one has to be the exception. And a physiologic shunt tells us about oxygenation, okay? So when you calculate physiological shunt, that's the percentage of cardiac output that is bypass functioning alveoli, or the percentage of cardiac output that's not oxygenated. Physiologic shunt is the percentage of tidal volume that isn't removing CO2. Hope this helps. See you soon.